let's look at solving some of the more complicated square root equations. Whenever you have a number over here, remember you need to move it so you can isolate your radical. So I'm going to have the square root of 2x minus 3 is equal to 5. Once you have the radical isolated, you square both sides. So 2x minus 3 is 25. So I want to add 3 to both sides. So 2x does go away, is 28. So x is 14. To check, you go back to the original equation and see if you get a true statement. Does this equal 8? And remember, always put that question mark there to remind yourself what you're doing. So this is 3 plus the square root of 28 minus 3. And I'm just going to work on this side and see if it comes over to 8. So this is 3 plus the square root of 25, which is 3 plus 5. And indeed, that does equal to 8. So my answer is x is equal to 14. Now sometimes you have x's on both sides. What you always want to do is still isolate the radical. So I'm going to add 5 to both sides. So I have the equation, square root of x plus 7 is equal to x plus 5. Once you've isolated the radical, square both sides. So you have x plus 7, and I'm going to FOIL this out. X squared plus 10x plus 25. Now, you need to get all of your terms on one side. So I'm going to subtract x and 7 from both sides. That side is 0. X squared plus 9x plus 18. Oops, lost my pen there. So now we need to factor this. My pen is being glitchy. All right, I need two numbers that I'm going to factor to be multiply to be 18 and add to be 9. So that's x plus 3 and x plus 6. So I have two solutions. One is when x is negative 3, and one is when x is negative 6. Now, especially when you square and you've got an x term that you're squaring, you have to be really careful that you don't wind up with extraneous solutions. So we're going to go back to the original equation. Let me check this one in red. And let me plug in x equals negative 6. Excuse me, x is negative 3. Negative 3 plus 7 minus 5, does that equal negative 3? So this is 4, square root of 4 minus 5, does that equal negative 3? 2 minus 5, indeed, negative 3 is equal to negative 3. Remember, as long as we're not taking the square root of a negative number, and as long as we're not taking a square root and setting it equal to a negative number, we're okay. So there's one solution. Let's check the other one. The square root of, let's check negative 6. Negative 6 plus 7 minus 5, does that equal negative 6? Well, the square root of negative 6 plus 7, this is the square root of 1 minus 5 equal to negative 6. So does 1 minus 5 equal negative 6? Oh no, negative 4 does not equal negative 6. So this is not a solution. This is extraneous. So the only answer we have for this problem is x is equal to negative 3. Now a problem like this is pretty sticky. What you want to do is you want to isolate the more complicated radical first. So I'm going to isolate the square root of 2x plus 1 by adding the square root of x to both sides. So this is the square root of 2x plus 1 is the square root of x plus 1. Now once I've isolated the most complicated radical, I'm going to square both sides. So this is 2x plus 1 is equal to, now I'm going to FOIL this out. The square root of x squared is just x plus 2 times the square root of x plus 1. Now what I need to do is isolate this radical. Okay, so this time I want to isolate this one, so I'm going to subtract x from both sides. So this is going to be x, oh that goes away, is equal to 2 times the square root of x. That goes away. All right, now this is fairly straightforward, so let me square both sides. X squared is, now I'm going to take this 2 and square the 2 that's the coefficient, so this is going to be 2 squared, and the square root of x squared is just x. So this is 4x. At this point in time, resist the temptation to cancel out an x. You need to take this equation right here and subtract 4x from both sides. Get all of your x terms on one side. So this is x squared minus 4x is equal to 0. You always want to factor, never divide out. I'm going to write it up here. Factor. Never divide out. It's a really big deal. So now I'm going to factor x out. So I've got two solutions. One is when x is 0, and one is when x is 4. So the first thing I'm going to do is check it. So when x is 0, I'm going to have the square root of 2 times 0 plus 1 minus the square root of 0 is 1. So this is the square root of 1 minus, well, that's just 0. So 1 equals 1. So x equals 0 is a solution. Let's check x equal to 4. All right, so this is going to be the square root of 2 times 4 plus 1 minus the square root of, what was it, 4? Does this equal 1? I don't know. The square root of 4, this becomes the square root of 8 plus 1 minus 2. So the square root of 8 plus 1 is the square root of 9. The square root of 9 is 3 minus 2. And it turns out, put my question marks here, this does indeed equal 1. In a rare stroke of luck, this one actually has two solutions. Many times when you square it, you're going to get that extraneous solution.